So, if you're a leader, you've probably seen this happen. Your software costs, they just seem to keep climbing, right? No matter how efficient your teams are. And the common assumption is to see this as, well, an execution problem. We think we just need better project management, or maybe our engineers need to be faster. But what if the real issue isn't in the execution at all? What if it's actually embedded in the very structure of the software itself? Let's explore that idea.
This right here, this is the core idea we're going to unpack. I want you to start thinking of your company's software architecture not as some technical blueprint, but as the financial engine that really dictates your costs and enables or disables your growth. The real question is, how well is that engine actually designed?
For far too long, we've treated architecture as something that's under the hood, a concern for the tech team to worry about. But it's time to reframe that completely. Think of your architecture as an invisible economic system. It's operating silently inside your business, and it has its own set of rules that govern spending, efficiency, and your ability to adapt. And this makes a really critical distinction. As leaders, we tend to focus on the visible parts of the business, the features, the UIs our customers see. But what's really driving the financial outcomes is the hidden architecture that's humming away underneath it all. That's what defines our cost structures, that's what determines if we can scale profitably, and that's where so much of our strategic risk is hiding.
So this brings us to a challenge that every executive faces. You live in a world of financial reports, P&Ls, budget forecasts, all of it. And these documents, they're excellent at telling you what you're spending, but they almost never tell you why those costs are behaving the way they do. This timeline really shows the problem in plain sight. The critical architectural decisions, the ones causing all that budget pain you're feeling in year 3, they were often made way back in year 1. There's this huge delay between cause and effect, and it makes it nearly impossible to connect the financial symptoms you're seeing today with the structural choices made years ago.
And this just illustrates the problem perfectly. Your financial reports are lagging indicators. They are the wake of the ship, not the rudder. So trying to manage software costs by only looking at those reports, well, it's like trying to steer by reacting to where you've already been. It's completely ineffective because the real cause, is already set in stone.
Now, in the engineering world, they have a term for the consequence of these poor architectural choices. They call it technical debt. But for a financial conversation, it's much more accurate and, frankly, more powerful to call it what it really is, an unrecorded, off-balance sheet liability.
Unlike financial debt, the interest on this liability isn't paid back in dollars and cents. Oh no. It's paid in friction as your teams struggle just to make simple changes. It's paid in slower innovation as new projects become progressively harder and harder to launch. And it's paid in rising future costs, as every new feature just adds another layer of complexity to an already fragile system.
This graph shows that economic trade-off perfectly. That red line represents a system with poor architecture. Sure, it gets a fast start, but it soon flattens out as that unrecorded liability creates incredible drag. Now look at the green line, a well-architected system. It might start a bit slower, but over the long term, it delivers far more value, and it does it more cheaply and more rapidly.
Okay, so how can you spot this hidden liability in your own organization? Well, the good news is the signals are probably already there, right in the financial data you review every day. You just need to know how to decode them. For example, when you see your headcount rising faster than your output of new value, that's not a productivity problem. It's a signal of architectural friction. It means you're hiring more people just to fight your own system. And what about when your cloud spend just keeps climbing, but you don't have a corresponding increase in customers or revenue? That's a huge signal of system inefficiency. You're just paying more and more for computation because the architecture itself is wasteful. So this all brings us to a moment of reflection. Understanding this model is one thing, but applying it to your own organization, well, that requires asking a pretty tough strategic question about the nature of your costs. Just think about that for a moment. Does your cost structure have a life of its own, driven by this internal complexity? Or is it truly tied to the value you deliver to your customers? The answer to that question reveals the true financial health of your software architecture.
This concludes the first part of our executive series. So far, we've established that architecture is a financial model. In part 2, we're going to explore the critical next question. How do these inefficient and costly architectures become normalized and even defended inside our own organizations? Thank you.